Hey everybody, Alan here. Real quick before we get started, just wanted to give you guys a heads up. We did have some technical difficulties with this episode again. I'm sorry. I worked on cleaning up best I can. I ended up losing a good part of the end, so you will hear me by myself again towards the end of the episode, but it's a good one, so enjoy. We haven't had a chance to talk about the Han Solo thing at all.
Didn't they cut him? Hasn't half the movie been filmed already from what I'm reading?
Yeah, they were well into production when Lord and Miller were fired. From what I hear, it had to do with the tone of the movie that they were doing.
Because it was supposed to be kind of like they were doing kind of like almost kind of like a comedy type deal with it.
Yeah, they did a lot of improv, and Kathleen Kennedy was not a fan of it. Have you seen the Lego movie?
No, I haven't, but I've seen clips of it.
Okay.
And read
we're
on
adding
it,
that
so.
to the list because it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Have you seen 21 Jump Street?
Yes, of course, yeah.
Yeah, so that's them. And with Star Wars, they know what they're doing. They have a plan for everything.
Yeah.
You have to fit to that plan.
Yeah. I wouldn't have liked that.
But now they have Ron Howard. So he's done one or two things that are...
Why didn't they just go with him to begin with?
I don't know. It's very strange.
Why is Ron Howard your secondary? That's like having, I know this is like a movie podcast and more in the geek realm, but that's like having, your backup quarterback being Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Why? Why not just have Ron Howard to begin with?
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe schedules. Maybe he was working on something else. Lord and Miller quit the Flash movie to do Han Solo. So rumor is they may go back to the Flash, which I'm okay with. I'd love to see a Flash movie of theirs.
Well, yeah. I mean, his character is more of a goofball anyway. So I mean that, the whole 21 Jump Street type mentality would do better.
But they're doing Flashpoint, so that's not gonna. I don't know how that's gonna work to begin with. But we'll get to that eventually.
Yeah.
Because we like to shit on DC. Hail Marvel. And then the big news that broke this week was Colin Trevorrow, the director of Jurassic World, got fired from episode 9.
I did not hear about that.
You did not hear about that?
I did not hear about that.
Breaking the news to you. Yeah. So they fired him late last week, and they announced his replacement yesterday.
Interesting. Who's his replacement?
Mr. J.J. Abrams is coming on to write and direct.
Oh, hang on a second. I saw something about him going on to make a movie. Isn't he slated to also direct Star Wars? Was it 9?
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Colin Trevorrow was supposed to do episode 9.
I thought you just said Jurassic World.
No, he did Jurassic World.
He did Jurassic World.
The director of Jurassic
I'm getting
World
things crossed. I apologize.
He was hired on a few years ago, right after Jurassic World, to do episode 9, and they just fired him. And now J.J. Abrams is doing episode 9.
So originally it was supposed to be J.J. Abrams did 7.
Yes.
And then it was going to be 2 other directors with him behind making sure that everything flowed right.
Rian Johnson did The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
And Colin Trevorrow
was supposed to do the 9th, but now J.J. Abrams is taking over for it.
Yeah.
I wonder what happened.
He had a really shitty movie come out this year.
Which was...
I forget. It's so bad I never even saw anything for it. But people are comparing it to The Room. That bad of a movie that it's...
Interesting.
So I think there was a lot of faith lost, and I just think that they're going through directors like crazy. So if you try to do something that they don't like, they're just going to fire you. Kathleen Kennedy gives no shits. She does not want to be messed with.
No, she doesn't.
But we're not a Star Wars podcast anymore.
So we're going to stay off of that.
We're going to transition now. We'll talk about Star Wars in December.
Yes.
Because I'm going to avoid everything until December. Which you should do too if you
Why do you think I didn't know about any of this?
But yeah, we're not here to talk about that.
No, we're not.
And actually, hi everybody. Welcome to You Have to Watch This podcast. I'm Alan.
And I'm Ryan.
And excuse our little tangent there, but
yeah.
Star Wars is awesome.
It is awesome.
So we're here today again
Mm-hmm.
to talk about a movie that Ryan had never seen, and
True.
that I have seen, but like no one else has seen.
Yeah.
And it's one of my favorites.
Which is funny because I decided when you told me about the movie, obviously nobody knows what we're talking about yet.
Yeah.
Well, you probably read the thing on
it's
the
in
post.
the title.
It's
so.
it's in the title, but still. I looked it up on Google, and I was surprised that it got a 67% for audience on Rotten Tomatoes. The tomato whatever had like a 47%, but the audience was 64. I was surprised at that. I wasn't expecting because like I've only seen clips of this and I had no idea what it was called until you messaged me, "Hey, you should watch My Fellow Americans." I'm like, "What the what movie is this?" And then I looked it up like, "Oh, it's that one."
Well, the reason this came up, and we'll get into this in a bit, but John Hurd died a few weeks ago, and everyone was like, "The dad from Home Alone died," and I'm like, "Yeah, I know him from that."
Yeah.
And in my mind, I always think of his performance in this, and we'll get into why in a bit. But I was like, we're going to do this for the podcast.
Yeah.
And that shows how crazy our schedules have been. This is the first time we were able to get together since then.
Yes.
So, but yeah, so we're talking about My Fellow Americans today, which stars Jack Lemmon and James Garner as two former presidents. Jack Lemmon's the Republican.
Let me see that real quick. Okay, the guy who was the older version of the husband in The Notebook.
Yeah, James Garner
is the Democrat. The short one is the Republican.
Yes.
Yeah, and they do that by describing. And this is
wait, hold on. So you described James Garner from The Notebook. Do you not know anything Jack Lemmon's in?
No. I do. I recognize him from a lot of stuff. I just can't. Here,
Grumpy Old Man.
The reason why is because my wife watched half of it with me last night.
Okay.
She's not into like political type comedies like this. So, the only thing that the first thing she did, she was like, "He's in this."
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Who are you talking about?" And she goes, "It's the guy from The Notebook." I'm like, "What do you mean?" She goes, "Him. He's the older version of, the character from The Notebook." And then so the entire time I'm watching this movie, I can't help but think of this is what happens to him after the events of The Notebook. And and then him and his wife get back together, and then she, develops dementia.
He just
and then
becomes president?
No. This was before the tail end of the events of The Notebook.
Yeah.
This was the in-between.
What you're saying is in your head, the continuity of The Notebook is they get together, they get divorced when he becomes president, and then afterwards they get back together and
and she develops dementia, and then he feels so bad about the way that he treated their marriage that he sticks with her the entire time.
I'd buy that.
So this and The Notebook are in the same universe.
So
here you go.
So just to give everyone a quick rundown of what this movie is. They used to run the country. Now they're running for their lives. Hail to the comedy chiefs. Jack Lemmon and James Garner win a landslide of laughs as two on-the-lam former presidents of the United States in one of the 10 best films of the year. I don't know about that.
One of the 10 best.
What year was this?
films.
96? Yeah, that might be right.
Yeah, that might be right. That might have been one of the top 5 movies of the year in 96.
This is directed by Peter Segal, who directed Tommy Boy.
Yes.
And a bunch of Adam Sandler 2000 stuff.
Yeah.
But I love Tommy Boy.
Mm-hmm.
And you've seen Tommy Boy.
Oh, I love Tommy Boy.
So, like, I found out about this movie. I was like, I'm going to check that out. And it was on HBO one day. I was like, this is great.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how did I not know about this? It's also got Dan Aykroyd, Wilford Brimley, John Hurd, like we talked about, Bradley Whitford playing somebody in the White House.
Yeah.
Who would have thought? And Lauren Bacall.
It was Lauren Bacall, isn't she?
I don't know.
Because,
it's too early.
Because here,
I think she was
somebody
Jack
else.
Lemon's wife.
Okay, because there's another actress in this movie that plays a very small role that if anybody is fans of CSI would recognize. It's at the very beginning of the movie. The guy's name, the Democrat one.
James Garner?
James Garner gets out of bed, and she's his, like, ghostwriter for a book that he's trying to write. She's the lead blonde in CSI.
Okay.
So if any... Yeah.
All right.
She pointed that out, too. I mean, when it comes to actors and actresses that I don't really spend a lot of time seeing, especially since like past, like before, not past, but like before 2002.
Yeah.
It's a little foggy when it comes to names.
All right. So I've talked about what I thought of the movie. What
Mhm.
did you think?
More people need to see this, especially now.
Yeah.
Like this movie, along with what was it? The one with Chris Rock where he runs for president. It came out
Head
like,
of State?
Head of State. Movies like this is what people need to watch because this movie is pretty much took the old school stereotypes of what a Democrat and what a Republican is to a point. You've got the Republican candidate who's like he calls himself cheap. You know, like
Yeah.
he'll pick up a penny. He won't go away. He made an argument because the other guy wanted a $1.99 hamburger and wanted to borrow $5. And then he makes the comment, you want $5 to pay for a hamburger that costs $1.99? No wonder the Democrats are in trouble. Like, it's one of those things where this movie, regardless of what your political beliefs are, this is what's kind of needed right now to kind of bring people closer together to show, hey, look, you've got two people on the other side. They both care about the country. They have different views. They absolutely hate each other. And the one guy said, even at the end, at the end of this, I still don't like you and I still hate you. But if things might have been different, we could have been friends.
Yeah.
And it shows throughout the entire movie because they bicker like a married couple, that they care about each other, but they just it's like, oh my God, there's so many one-liners that I wanted to remember from this movie that I can't right now.
I know there's a joke about George Bush.
No, about stealing the about was it he pours vodka out of a bottle in a hotel room. He fills the vodka bottle back up with water and puts it back. His wife asks him, did you want me to make sure to get the soaps and the little shampoos? And then he looks over and goes, what am I, George Bush?
I already got them.
Yeah, I already got them.
Yeah.
No, George Bush Senior for people listening who are in our age group.
This is 96.
This is 96, so yeah.
This is the Clinton years.
Yeah.
But yeah, the premise of the movie is they're on the run from the government, and I'm not going to get into details on that.
Yeah.
But pretty much it's a road trip.
Pretty much, yeah.
They have to get from North Carolina to Ohio.
Yes, which honestly they end up in West Virginia at some point, I think, or they end up going back south by accident because they have to get on a train.
Well, no, they were in North Carolina.
They were in North Carolina when that happens, and then it takes them through. Yeah, because they're on a Tar Heels train. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, that's the University of North Carolina's like nickname for their sport team.
So Dan Aykroyd's also in this, but he doesn't have much to do.
No, he doesn't. He's pretty much a stand-in. Honestly, anybody could have played that character.
Yeah.
It didn't need to be him.
Yeah, it didn't need to be. Like, and the fact that he gets third billing is kind of like, why? Like, But John Hurd, what did you think of his performance as the vice president?
It was hysterical.
Yeah.
One of the good things I like about this movie, and why I said before that this would be good for like everybody to see now, everybody claims that Hollywood is this, Hollywood is that. They did they made fun of and stereotyped the Democratic nominee and president just as hard, if not more harsher, than they did the Republican guy.
Yeah.
And they took the vice president and they just like went nasty with the political humor with him. Like they had him saying outrageously stupid things, especially when they were golfing.
Yeah.
Like
The
that
golf
was
scene is
just
fantastic.
I
think that's what I
just
sent to you to
amazing.
get you to watch this. I think that's the scene I sent.
Yeah.
It's like, we need to watch this movie.
Mm-hmm.
But even at the end, he's like, it was just a whole facade.
He was whole facade. Like he still screws up on something.
Yeah, he steals this movie. And Jack Lemmon and James Garner are fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
But that scene with the three of them at the end, I was like, oh, they're all dead now.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it does suck, but still.
But yeah, they really cover a lot of bases. And this is a movie that's really pushing for bipartisanship.
It is.
Because they go around and they get to meet all different kinds of people that have been affected by both of their presidencies in different ways.
Yeah.
And they get to see the effects of what they did in office.
Mm-hmm.
And
And there's one scene in particular where both of them kind of get roasted a little bit.
Yeah, by the woman in the car.
The woman in the car, yeah. Rightfully so too. I
Yeah.
mean, in all honesty, and that scene, if you haven't seen the movie, this isn't really that pivotal, but it is pivotal for like both of the characters' development. But for the overall storyline, it really doesn't matter too much.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'll get into it. They're in a car. They're running away from like a certain portion of the government that wants to cover up something that happened, and so they're pretending to be from like the Department of Transportation or something like that to like make sure that everything's like safe to use, like on the roadways.
Yeah.
Like it's like the one was saying this to try to get people to like let them get rides and stuff. And they're in this guy's car, or family's car, and he makes a mistake about two different presidents' background with his kid.
Yeah. And then he thinks that Mount Rushmore is naturally formed.
Yeah, exactly. But so there's, I mean, the guy needed to be corrected. But anyway, the one, I think it was Kramer in the back seat, or is it Douglas?
I think it was James Garner who says something the first time.
Yeah, it was James Garner who was sitting directly behind the guy and basically tells him, be like, hey, if you're going to be teaching your kid this country's history, do it
right.
It has to be right. And then the guy starts going off about like the voice of the people, and it doesn't matter because, you have to listen to us. And then the other one starts going off of like, oh, the voice of the people is complete BS. Everybody wants something different. And the only thing anybody can ever agree on is lower taxes and blah, 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 blah. And then they pull over the car. The mom asks the son to get out because she doesn't want him to hear. And she tells him, be like, she said, because of your budget cuts, which would have been the Republican one, the cheap one, quote unquote. So because of your budget cuts, we lost our jobs. And then she looked at the other one, who was the Democrat, and said, because of your economic downturn, we lost our house.
Yeah.
So you're in our house.
Yeah.
And that kind of, both of them kind of just like kind of sunk into the back seat because they kicked them out of the car.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's one of those scenes where it kind of went being from a comedy to like kind of like a political statement. And it's one that everybody can kind of latch on to. I don't see anybody disagreeing with that.
Yeah. I mean, you probably find somebody who is very strong in their political opinions not enjoying this movie because... But you have to take it for what it is. Like it's a road trip comedy about two presidents, and it's completely ridiculous. Like, this would never happen.
No,
I do
would
not
never
see
happen.
this happening with George Bush and Bill Clinton.
It'd be great if it did, though.
It would be,
Particularly W. Bush.
yeah.
Yeah.
They just stop and he's painting while Bill plays the sax.
Exactly.
I'd watch that movie.
I would
really watch that movie. I'd watch that more than a Bush Obama movie.
How about a Bush and Sean Hannity movie? I mean, a Obama Sean Hannity movie.
Yeah, Sean Hannity's not president.
I know,
Yet.
but on the political spectrum, they're completely
Who knows
different.
who's going to be president in the future? I can't wait until...
Donald Duck.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, just...
An animated character.
Sidebar.
Sidebar.
Have you seen the new DuckTales?
No, I haven't.
Oh my God, it's fantastic.
It better be.
It's wonderful. I think they only have one episode out so far, but it's an hour long, and it's fantastic. David Tennant as Scrooge McDuck is wonderful. So, if you can,
I have to check it out.
Yeah, check it out.
I have to check it out.
The theme song's not the greatest, but you can't beat the original. So, what do you got on your phone?
Well, I'm looking at quotes because there were so many, and there were a couple that I really wanted to, that I wanted to reference, and I found one. Russell Kramer, who is the Republican.
Yeah.
They're bickering back and forth, and they're trying to decide, who is the more well-liked president. and they get down to assassination attempts.
Yeah.
And this is the line. Russell Kramer, there was only one assassination attempt on me. You had 3. And then Matt Douglas, the Democrat, goes 2. The woman in Phoenix doesn't count. She only had a starter pistol.
Yeah.
That to me was like that line, the way that was given back and forth. Like it's like they're bickering. Like here, Russell Kramer. I was the Time Magazine's Man of the Year. Douglas. So was Hitler. Kramer. Not twice.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's
part of me wonders if that's how the actual presidents talk when they're together.
Well, see, the thing is, these two absolutely hated each other.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I kind of liked about this is that they showed how in public they could still somewhat act kind of respectful to each other because they did have to do appearances occasionally.
Yeah.
And they bickered, but like the bickering really wasn't hateful. And even though some of that stuff was, like the whole like Hitler thing, like this sounds more like, college buddies.
Yeah.
Picking at each other at a party. Like this doesn't sound like hateful, banter back and forth.
Yeah. So originally, I'm just looking up some trivia. It was supposed to be a Walter Matthau, Jack Lemmon film, but Walter Matthau got sick and was replaced by James Garner. So this would have been in the vein of Grumpy Old Men and
Gotcha.
Out to Sea.
Yeah. So I found the George Bush line.
Okay.
And we got it wrong. And to be perfectly honest, it's funnier the way that they did it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do that with the liquor, Russ. It's so ... George Bush.
Yeah. But yeah, I really enjoy this movie. Like I said, not a lot of people have seen it. It shows up on HBO occasionally, but not often. So if you can, I'm guessing you rented it on Amazon.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, I got lucky and found it at our library for $1. Just bought it.
That doesn't surprise me, in all honesty.
And it was like buy one get one free. I bought that. I bought Star Trek 4: The Voyage Home with the whales.
Yeah.
I bought Star Trek First Contact. What else did I buy? Oh, Ace Ventura: Pet Detective.
Yeah.
It's like $2. I'll buy those.
Yeah.
Why not?
And it's like it's one of the I was looking through the Robert Ebert
Review.
Review of it, and they gave it 2.5 or 3.5 stars. 2.5.
Okay.
Out of 3 or 4, whatever rating system that they did, I forget. But he said, from what I can remember, he didn't particularly like it that much.
Yeah.
He said that a lot of the jokes didn't go far enough, and the opportunity, and that there were opportunities missed. But in my opinion, because politics can be such a touchy topic,
Yeah.
I think they did it right. And I came across a line that kind of shows that.
Yeah, it definitely toes that line.
Yeah, because you've got they're with the family, the one that kicks them out of the car. This is like the night before, and they're all sleeping. Like this is part of the goofy humor. Like they're all sleeping in the same bed in the camper.
Yeah.
And they had voted because they had voted Republican, so they had voted for the other one. And she like rolls over, she wakes up. They've got the mattress split, and she's right next to the one that they had voted for. And she says that, she said that, that they were so happy that he could be there, so happy to help him, and that they voted for him. And then she leans up because she sees that the other one's awake. And she leans up and goes, well, I'm sorry about that, sir. We're Republican. And then he responds, well, at least you could admit it. That's the first step to recovery.
Yeah.
And so there's that line, but then later on, there's other people that they meet who are the opposite, and then there's the same occasion. Like there's another one. This is another one that's kind of a diss on the Republican Party, but still. I hate these funerals. It's just awful when another good Democrat passes on. The guy's aide, I believe that the deceased was a Republican, sir. He goes, oh well, then it might not be so bad.
Yeah.
But there's other moments. I'm scrolling
It's
through
all
finding
lighthearted.
one.
Like,
It is very lighthearted. Oh, about the one about the $5 for the $1.99 hamburger, and you wonder why the Democrats are in trouble. So I mean, when they made this movie, they made it down the line to where it was even on both sides. And when it comes to politics, some people take it too seriously, but others, if you have a sense of humor about where you stand on it to a point, you'll find this funny. And that's one of the best things I like about this, because it kind of brings people together to a point.
It really does. I just love the fact that Wilford Brimley always works or not Wilford Brimley, Bradley Whitford.
Mm-hmm.
I love how he always works in the White House.
He does, doesn't he?
Yeah, he barely gets cast as anything else.
He does get cast as only White House staff.
Yeah.
He only wasn't he in West Wing? I forgot.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was in the West
he was
Wing.
in West Wing.
I think he was one of the staff and then you got Wilford Brimley in one of the 2 movies I know him from.
Mm-hmm.
Well, 3, I guess, if you count both Cocoons. But it's like this movie, Cocoon, and the diabetes commercials.
Yeah, I know. As soon as I saw him, I totally forgot that he was actually an actor.
Yeah. Hey, he's not in much.
No, he's not.
From our generation. So, but yeah, I highly recommend this.
Same here.
It's political, but it's not super political.
Yeah, and any of the politics that get involved in this, in all honesty, is something that the country was trying to march towards to anyway. Because the only time this movie got political, like outright political, was when they were trying to get away from the people that were hunting them down, and they wind up marching in a parade. They don't know what kind of parade it is.
Yeah.
They just start waving, and people are like, "Oh my God, you're here!" It's like, "Oh, this is great!" That you're coming out for this, and they said that, "Oh yeah, no, we do these all the time," not knowing what it was, and it ends up being a gay pride parade.
Yeah, in West Virginia.
In West Virginia, of all places, in 1996. But they go through, and at the front of the parade, or one part, there is a marching band of gay men or transsexual men, whatever, dressed up as Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
Playing over the rainbow. And so they run up, they get in the middle of this, and then that's when they realize, not because of the dress, but because they look ahead and they see the banner.
Yeah.
What it says. And so they're just kind of playing along with it, and this guy comes up, totally shadowing here. This guy comes up and interacts with them, and he senses that there's more of a problem than what they're letting on, and they need to get to Ohio. And this guy gives one of the presidents like a necklace because of just the fact that they were there and showing support. And he says, "Oh no, I have a bunch of friends who will be able to get you to Ohio." And it's the back of the jacket says "Dykes on Bikes."
Yeah.
And so they're both riding, on the back of motorcycles, and this giant, like, I don't know, a term is hog. I don't know, like a bunch of bikes, like just a gang, not a gang, but just like a bike gang going up the road. And when they get off the bikes and they get to the once presidential library, the one who's the Republican says, I really think that we need to change a really important policy. The Army could use some of those women. That whole sequence was really the only political push, political message push in the entire movie.
At the same time,
except for the one that they were in the car.
Yeah.
Like I said, the more universal message.
That
but
whole
still.
thing is just kind of very 90s. Like,
yeah.
It's hysterical to put the presidents in a gay pride parade in West Virginia in 1996.
Yeah.
Because it's the 90s.
It's the 90s. And it was the 90s when even the Democratic, quote-unquote, liberal president and first lady didn't really come out for gay rights at that point.
Yeah.
Or for gay marriage.
Yeah, this is pre-Ellen coming out.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah, this is pre-Ellen, and this
Should that be my point of like when things started to change? Like, is that
No, it was.
Okay.
I would
I'm just
say
making
in
sure
TV, in
yeah.
TV movie culture, things changed when Ellen came out.
Yeah.
When that happened on her show, I mean, for crying out loud, the first episode where I know I'm gonna go into something that some people didn't know that I knew. Um, the first episode of her show, when she actually kissed her girlfriend, at the start of the show, there was a FCC message that said that basically warned that there was going to be a same-sex kiss in that episode. So yeah, I mean that line is pretty. That's a good line to have for before and after.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that about does it for what was fixable for the episode. I do apologize for any of the few glitches that were still there. We are working on getting these problems resolved so this doesn't keep happening. Quick recap of what you missed in the part of the episode I just cut out. We talked a little bit about what this movie would have been like with Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau. Probably would not have been as good because James Garner is fantastic in this, and it'd be hard to see Walter Matthau in that role. Quick preview of things to come. We have a lot of fun things planned for October. Very Halloween-centric, fall horror type movies. So stay tuned for that. But before we get to that, next week we'll be talking about a movie I've never seen, and Ryan just dropped off a few minutes ago as I'm editing this. Brian's Song. Since it's the transition from baseball to football season, we're going to watch the classic sports movie Brian's Song. So look forward to that next week. For You Have to Watch This podcast, I'm Alan, and Ryan's on his way to work. So we'll see you next week.